Before you listen this, lock your door. I'm serious. Turn the volume down if you're wearing headphones. Because somewhere around the middle of this story, something is going to scream. And I don't want you to lose your hearing the way 3 people who told this story before me lost their minds. This is the story of a well that shouldn't exist, a boy who shouldn't have died, and a healer who made one mistake that woke something old, something patient, something that had been waiting for 100 years for someone stupid enough to disturb it. By the end of this video, you're going to look at every old well, every abandoned church, every harmless local legend completely differently. Stay till the end. There's a twist in this story that even I didn't see coming when I first heard it. And it changes everything you think you know about who the real monster is. Alright, let's begin. In the fall of 1962, in a small forgotten town called Hollow Creek, Appalachia, a traveling preacher named Elias Marrow arrived with his congregation. Elias wasn't your typical preacher. Folks in 3 counties knew him as something more. A healer, a man who could lay hands on the sick and somehow, impossibly, pull them back from death's door. Traveling with him was a young orphan boy named Caleb, no older than 9, who Elias had taken in 2 years prior after Caleb's parents died of fever. Caleb called him Uncle Elias, and Elias loved that boy like his own blood. On their 3rd night in Hollow Creek, while the congregation set up camp near an old moss-covered well at the edge of the woods, a well the locals called the Widow's Well, Caleb wandered off. Kids do that. He was curious. He'd heard the local children whisper a legend that the well's water could raise the dead, that a witch had drowned herself in it 100 years ago, and that if you dropped something forbidden into the water, you'd wake her. So Caleb, being 9 and foolish, dropped a piece of raw pork into the well, just to see what would happen. Nothing happened, not that night. But the next morning, Caleb woke up burning with fever, red sores spreading across his skin. Smallpox, the doctors said. Except Caleb had been vaccinated. Except no one else in the camp got sick, just him. Elias tried everything. Doctors, prayer, herbs passed down from his own mother, remedies that had never failed him in 20 years of healing the sick. Nothing worked. If anything, Caleb got worse the more Elias tried to help. 3 days later, in the dead of night, with a fever so high his skin felt like a stove, Caleb passed away in Elias's arms. Elias was destroyed. But something else troubled him more than grief. The way Caleb had started speaking in the hours before he died. Words that weren't his. A voice that wasn't a 9-year-old boy's. "You'll wish you had let me keep him." Caleb was buried on a hill outside Hollow Creek, since his body couldn't be sent back home. And that should have been the end of it. It wasn't. That very night, the residents living near the graveyard began hearing something, crying. Not a child's cry, a woman's, low, grief-soaked, coming from somewhere near the fresh grave. But every time someone got close enough to see, the sound would stop dead, like it knew it was being hunted. This happened for 3 straight nights. On the 3rd night, Elias went himself. He stood alone at the edge of the graveyard and called out into the dark, "Who are you? Why do you cry here?" Silence. Then, an old woman in a tattered white dress appeared beside the headstone, leaning on a cane, as if she'd been standing there the entire time, and Elias simply hadn't noticed. She told him she was a spirit bound to protect Caleb's bloodline, bound by a promise made to his grandmother decades ago. She had failed to protect him, and then She said the words that changed everything. Caleb didn't die of sickness, preacher. He was murdered. Elias demanded to know how. The old spirit explained. The well Caleb had disturbed wasn't cursed by any witch. It was a sacred site belonging to a coven of spirits who performed a century-old ritual there. A ritual that could never be interrupted by the touch of pork, of blood, of anything unclean. Caleb had broken it without knowing, and the spirits didn't forgive. They poisoned him, slow, cruel, dressed up to look like disease, so no one would ever suspect the truth. But the old woman's spirit warned Elias of something worse. They weren't finished. They wanted the whole congregation dead, every person who had traveled with Caleb, because in their eyes, the sin belonged to all of them. Then she vanished into the night air, leaving Elias alone with a horrifying truth. The people he'd sworn to protect were marked for death, and he had no idea how to stop it. If you're getting chills right now, drop "Oi" in the comments, because it's about to get so much worse. Elias gathered the entire congregation into his camp for safety and sent 2 of his most trusted men to scout the widow's well to learn exactly what they were dealing with. 2 days passed. The men never returned. Then, one afternoon, as Elias paced his porch in worry, a massive white cat slinked into his private prayer room, a room Elias only ever entered once a year, for a sacred 40-day fast, and never at any other time. Yet today, something called him inside. Standing in the room was a strikingly handsome man with a long white beard, dressed in old-world clothing, smelling of something sweeter than any flower Elias had ever known. "I am the leader of the well spirits," the man said, calmness washing over the room like fog. "You sent men to spy on me. That took nerve." Elias, shaken but resolute, apologized, said his people meant no disrespect, that they simply feared for their lives. The spirit's expression darkened. "Your fear means nothing to me. Your boy broke a sacred rite, and your people slaughtered 5 of my children, snakes, sunning themselves outside the well at night, beaten to death by torchlight, out of fear and ignorance, rage, grief, both real, both justified, on both sides. An eye for an eye," the spirit hissed. "I want every soul who traveled with that boy, blood for blood. Nothing you do will stop what's coming." And then, in the blink of an eye, the man dissolved into black smoke and was gone, leaving Elias with a war he never asked for. Elias called the congregation together and asked them, point blank, about the night they killed the snakes. The group grew quiet. Then their leader spoke. "We didn't act alone that night. There was a man with us, a stranger. His name was Josiah." He explained, days before, during a violent storm on the road to Hollow Creek, a strange man named Josiah had appeared out of nowhere and offered them shelter in his home nearby. Grateful, they accepted. But odd things happened that night. The storm raged everywhere, except directly over Josiah's house, where the sky stayed eerily calm. There was a feast prepared for a dozen guests, but no wife, no family, no staff anywhere in sight. And strangest of all, though no one remembers praying that night or lighting a single candle for evening prayer, at dawn, Josiah was the one who woke them for morning prayer, as if the whole night had simply been erased from their memory. The next morning, Josiah asked to join their group, claiming he wanted to learn more about their faith. Something about him made everyone deeply uneasy, but somehow, none of them could explain how. They let him come along anyway. That was the same night the snakes appeared in their tent. That was the same night they were killed. And now, Josiah was nowhere to be found. No one had seen him since. Elias felt the blood drain from his face. Josiah wasn't human, and whatever he was, he had orchestrated this entire nightmare from the very beginning. That evening, a burning wind swept across Elias's porch, and a shapeless black figure appeared in front of him. Unable to speak in its natural form, Elias called upon one of his followers to let the spirit borrow his body so it could communicate. The spirit's name was Nathaniel, and what he confessed left Elias frozen with dread. "I used to work for Josiah," Nathaniel said through trembling lips that weren't his own. "He is no ordinary spirit, preacher. He is old, and he is patient, and he has hated healers like you for longer than your religion has existed. He didn't just curse the boy for breaking a ritual. He used the boy and the snakes as an excuse. He wanted a war between you and the well spirits, because in the chaos, in the grief, in the blood, he could pick off whoever he wanted, and no one would ever suspect him. Last night, Josiah's men killed your best friend, your right hand, the man you called your equal. They made it look like a spirit attack. It wasn't. It was Josiah clearing your strongest allies before he comes for you." Nathaniel's borrowed body convulsed. "I betrayed him by telling you this. My life force is bound to him. Once he realizes what I've done, I won't survive the night. But I needed you to know the truth before I go. You have to survive, preacher. Too many people in this town still need you." If you're not already subscribed, now's the time. Because what happens in the final act of this story is the reason this channel exists. Hit that subscribe button and let's finish this together. Armed with the truth, Elias understood the real war wasn't between him and the well spirits at all. It was Josiah, a centuries-old entity who fed on chaos, grief, and the blood spilled between two grieving sides who had been tricked into hating each other. Elias made a desperate choice. That night, under a blood-red harvest moon, he walked alone to the widow's well, unarmed, unprotected, carrying only a single lit candle, and called out to the well spirits one final time. "I know the truth now," he said into the dark. "Josiah killed your children. Josiah killed my boy. He wants us to destroy each other while he watches and feeds. If you want real justice, help me end him, not each other." For a long, agonizing moment, nothing. Then, rising from the water like smoke given form, the well spirits emerged, not as monsters, but as grieving parents, their true forms flickering between serpent and human, eyes glowing with old grief. They had seen it too, sensed the deception, even before Elias confirmed it. That night, healer and spirits, enemies just hours before, turned as one against Josiah. The confrontation that followed tore through Hollow Creek like a living storm. Wind that ripped branches from 100-year oaks, fire that burned blue instead of orange, screams that no living throat could have produced. Townsfolk who witnessed it from their windows swore the sky itself turned black at midnight, then silent, then still. By dawn, Josiah was gone, whether destroyed, banished, or simply driven off to hunt some other town. No one could say for certain. The well spirits vanished back into the water, their war finally, truly over. Elias never spoke of that night again. He buried Caleb's grave with fresh flowers every year until the day he died. An old man, decades later, in his sleep, peacefully. But the well is still there. Locals in Hollow Creek still warn their children never to throw anything into it, never to disturb it, because some believe the spirits never truly left, and some believe Josiah is still out there, waiting, patient, for the next fool who doesn't believe the legend. So tell me, do you believe the well spirits were the real monster in this story? Or was it the healer who brought danger to a town that never asked for it? Or was it Josiah, the stranger who smiled at a dinner table while he planned 5 murders? Drop your theory in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If this story kept you up, if it made your skin crawl even a little, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. And if you're new here, subscribe, because every single week I bring you a story just like this one. True legends, real folklore, told the way they deserve to be told. Stay safe out there, and whatever you do, don't go near the well.